episode of Stoke Meter. Man, I'm very glad to have Malta. I always get that wrong. Malte Niebelschuetz online with us today. What a pleasure to have you, Malta. Pleasure. So thank you
Oh,
for
Maurice, man, it's all mine. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy, and I'm really looking forward to talk a little bit about the things going on. And I love your podcast, man. You're just like always such a positive, and it's interesting like what people here reveal. And I don't know. I always believe in big in self-improvement, self-development. So let's see what you can get out of me today.
man, there's no doubt that there's going to be some good stuff coming out here, man. And I got to give the backstory of how this all came about here. Malta is the CEO of Shore Buddies, and we're going to go into that in a minute because it's very relevant to how this came about. My kids went to class one day, and they had this Zoom call with the CEO of a company, and they came back and they were so stoked. They said, "Dad, you wouldn't believe this, man. They're making stuffed animals out of recycled plastic." And I thought, wait, what? This is cool. So tell me more about that. They go, yeah, man, they were, the class was talking, and the CEO is so cool. He just shared his story. And so, of course, I had to look up Shore Buddies, and it was really cool, man. And I've got to go back to that story because you just started this. It was not even a decade ago or so. Is that about right?
Yeah, there's kind of like two stories to Shore Buddies, kind of like really when it started. And the longest story kind of like starts already back in 2014 when we first got the products to market, right? Kind of like launched with an MVP and tried it out in the San Diego area. But then 2018 was really when we kind of kicked things into gear and really like brought it to a national level and kind of like went from there. And by that, it's amazing. So we're here down in San Diego, and then your son, you said you guys are up in Idaho, right? So it's kind of like, so we're really reaching more and more people, which is amazing to see. And I'm so happy your son had such an amazing experience here coming home, and the whole family is Shore Buddies fans now.
It was really cool. No, they were pumped because there's this great awareness, especially in the younger generation, about waste and the different things that are happening to our shorelines and such. And quite frankly, I never gave it a whole lot of thought when I was growing up. I mean, I'm an old guy now, and just to see the damage. I mean, they would have videos of these seals getting trapped in fishing nets and all that, and all those other things like this, and how it was impacting turtles and so on and so forth. And so just to see what you're doing in such a positive light. I mean, when you look at your LinkedIn, it says you're a social entrepreneur and a change maker. Holy moly, you're a change maker, and there's no better way to describe you in that route. But I want to go back to even further back, 2011. You moved from Germany, man, to San Diego, where you were in IT, if I remember right. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, it was an opportunity. Me and my back then wife, we were together in Germany, and she just finished her PhD in Hamburg, and got a job opportunity here in San Diego. And I honestly didn't even know like San Diego existed, right? So, like for me, I've never heard of it before. I was kind of like, for me in like living and growing up in Germany, like California was pretty much the Golden Gate Bridge and the Hollywood side, right? So that was my picture of California. And then I learned about this place, San Diego, right? And literally the first thing I see is surfers around sunset, right? Like the whole thing, like you kind of like, that's California, and it's like, holy shit, this is real, right? And it was it was a 2-year program, and yeah, we both decided to move here together for 2 years. Like, just try it, right? We're young, and why not? You know, why not? Why not experience something new? And yeah, like those 2 years turned into 4 years. At that time, I then had started already my first tech company here. And like Sure Buddies kind of like grew as an idea along the way, if you will. And yeah, I don't know, we kind of like made ourselves stay.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, how did Shore Buddies come about? I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, it's obvious there was waste on the beach or whatever, but how did it go from an idea to where it is today? I just now knowing what that timeline looks like, that's a heck of a timeline, man. Right. So all the way to 2018 when you started going, but that's 7 years of thinking and doing. So how did that come about?
I mean, there are obviously like a lot of different steps, right? And I love this one quote, Maurice, that
Yeah.
is, I think Lionel Messi, the soccer player,
Oh,
said it.
yes. Yes.
He's like, it only took me 18 years to become an overnight success.
That's great.
And it's so freaking true, you know, like it's the persistence, and like it's I feel everyone has great ideas, has amazing ideas. It's really the execution and the persistence to like to like a get started, right? Like, and we
Yeah.
get into that like how that all kind of like the ball got rolling, but like it's really the persistence, right? It's like the everyday grind. It's
Yeah.
really that's what keeps it going. It's I always say it's not hard to start a company. It's
Yeah.
keeping it going. That's the challenge.
It is. I man, I've now having my own one of my own companies here. I know exactly what you're saying. When it starts to ebb, I mean, the ebbs are very real, and it's almost you want to throw in a towel. What kept you from throwing in the towel when it goes down into those ebbs, right? Because I know you've been through a few of them.
Yeah, yeah, you know, like this is always it's always the fun part, you know, like you kind of have to see it as part of the experience, as part of the journey, right? And then like have the reason, like as you said, don't throw the towel, right? Why don't
Yeah,
you do it? Like, what is your a good friend of mine, Kim Perel, she wrote a book about the execution factor, and she describes it in it beautifully. It's you have to have your North Star, right? Like the reason why you keep going, right? Like, what is your why? Why are you doing all of that, right? So,
yeah,
like, if you have that, and if you really believe like that's the right thing to do, you know, you can just keep going. You have to find something that is like bigger than you, like a purpose that is bigger than you, to where you can go going after.
that's so cool. I'm looking at my face in this little thing there, and I'm in like shock. But I want to ask this too. From the first time that you had the idea to the first time that you saw a kid with your product, what was it like to see a kid with your product in hand and realizing that just came from being recycled, man, but finally seeing that product with that child.
It's yeah, it's a beautiful moment, right? When you see the products come to life, and I love that you brought up that specific point, right? Like there's so many like milestones and highlights throughout the journey, and that you brought up that one point. I remember like talking about like one of those downs, right? Like what always helps me is going back to the why, right? And
Right.
like the way you get to those points is like rethinking about like those images, right? So like one of my typical go-to clues is like reason why is like the feeling that a kid has, right? When it learns about shore buddies, it's like, okay, wait, what? This is what's happening, right? So it's kind of a very beautiful feeling, man. I cannot tell you, like the first time I saw a kid, actually I remember like still very much was or that was the moment. It might have not been the moment the first, but that was the moment that really stood out. With a friend's kids, a couple, they just had their first kid, and they went to a store here in San Diego. They were selling them. We didn't have an online shop back then, and they were buying it them from the shop, right? Like when one of your friends like kind of like goes into a store and buys your product, it's kind of like very, very cool. So, and yeah, they still have that dolphin.
That's awesome. Well, when we went to see some of your products, it's amazing the recognition that the brand is getting now too, because the kids, my daughters do, just I know that. I've seen that, and just to see what that consistency, that grit, can result in impacting all these kids. But that story, man, I'm telling you what, when they see the cool product and then they really absorb that story, that's why I mean, again, that's why we're on this call. They went back to the Shore Buddy process, and that it's only a 4-step process, right? There's waste production, and the key thing that was pointed out as they were talking about what impact it had. I had no idea that just bottles alone, there's 50 billion plastic water bottles per year. I would have never known that if these really excited kids didn't just listen to you on that Zoom call, and that came about. And that's just bottles. And then to see that the collection of that, and then how those pellets are used in that creation of the Shore Buddies, toys. Holy moly, that's something, man. I mean, that's something. And I'm wondering, so we've talked about the products and the impact on the kids. What has been the impact on the environment that you've seen? I mean, obviously you're in with a lot of different groups. And what are some of the things that they've said about the work that you've been doing as well?
Yeah, no, it's yeah, of course, right? So like it's I always see Shore Buddies has so many different tasks, right? So like it's we kind of really want to see like the whole circle, like kind of like everyone involved and as a community, right? I feel we still think about community as being with our neighbors, right? Of course, every community starts with your neighbor, right? So like it's but our communities are different, right? Like we kind of live in a global world, and that's the community. You know, you're part of that community that you kind of like want to be in with, right? And there could be like your college buddies, your tennis club, your country club, right? Or you know the guys down at the bar, you know, like but that's kind of like your community, and the extended community is also your part of community, right? So it's kind of like the parts in where you interact. And we are all on this planet together as a big community, as a big society, right? And that also includes all the animals in the ocean. So, and I feel that's kind of where we really want to have an impact on the whole scale, right? It's not just only the products that are made from sustainable material, less harmful material, but there also is the educational aspect that really comes with the toys, right? That we can, I mean, like your kids came home, you know, like, and they got inspired. They learned about that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, we talked about this in school, right? They kind of like that. That's for me how Shore Buddies kind of like started was when
Right.
I learned about a company called Patagonia.
Oh yeah. Oh
I,
yeah.
I I read an article about them, right? So, and I kind of like was in that field. I was just getting to San Diego here for 2, 3 years at that point. And for me, actually, when I came to San Diego, I was in shock, man, right? So, I mean, first of all, it's beautiful. I was like in shock because it's beautiful scenery, right? But
Yeah.
what kind of like confused me the most, like I came, right, like from Germany, and I
Yep.
always thought like California, right?
Yeah.
That's the forefront of the green revolution.
Yes.
Everyone is eco-friendly, everyone recycles, everyone hugs a tree in the morning, you know, California. but then everyone here was like so much with plastic and everything was single-use plastic, right? Like I remember, like, Maurice, I saw my first beach cleanup actually from a restaurant in San Diego, like on the boardwalk. And so we were looking at the beach, and I was like wondering what those people were doing, right? Like I saw there's an oil spill, right? Like I saw it for me, like there was like, oh, people cleaning up, you know, like there's something here. So like I asked the waiter all about, like, hey, so what's going on there, right? And he was giving me the whole spiel, right? That was the first time, like, I like in San Diego, everyone was really worried about the ocean, right, and the pollution. So they all know what's up, right? So, and
Yeah.
the way he was like, yeah, you know, it's ocean plastic, and over a million marine animals die every single year. He gave me the whole spiel, right? The plastic, yada yada. So those folks are those volunteers. They're with nonprofit organization, and they clean up the beach here every Saturday.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, wow, man, that's awesome. I had no idea. I've never seen a beach cleanup. I didn't know it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I see it there. And so it was done with his spiel, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool. That's awesome. They're doing that, right? And he was like, yeah, it's, we really need to, you know, stop the ocean plastic. And then he put some water in front of me in a plastic cup.
The irony, right?
And I'm like, really? You give me this whole, dude, it starts right here, right here.
So that is awesome. I love it. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
That is
so that
hilarious.
got me confused, right? So it's like, where is this green California everyone is talking about? Cannot just be Tesla.
Yeah.
And then one day, or like, you know, how the universe always has it, like the very next day, pretty much, I read an article about, well, Patagonia, right? And
Yeah.
how they're making their t-shirts and jackets all from recycled soda pop bottles, and they're doing it since the 90s. I
Wow.
was like, holy cow, man! I had no idea that's
Wow.
possible. Like
Wow.
that's like boom, right? So and then
Mm.
like the first thing I saw, like after reading the article, like I look up, was like a stuffed seagull, actually, like dang, from the seagull. One I bought like in Germany that I brought with me to San Diego. And
Right.
like I look at it, it's like, if you can make a t-shirt or a jacket, like you probably can make a stuffed animal, right? So, and that's kind of like what really like spiraled the idea, was like literally like, can it be, is it that simple that you can do that, right? So like
Yeah.
just bring it to another product. And yeah, we looked into that, and took us about like a year until we had our MVP in the market. And yeah, then it kind of like added on to that.
That, I love how you just saw, you just explained how that started gaining the momentum, and it makes sense. And I'm glad that server was there. It explain. It still blows my mind that that individual had all that knowledge of exactly what was going on. But I will forever now have him printed in my mind, him handing you the water in a plastic cup. But you also,
Yeah, dude, next time, have you ever been in San Diego?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, next time you're down here, like let me know, and then I'll take you to that bar. They have water cups now. Like glass cups. They have glass now.
I hope you influence him. That was awesome. Well, and you had mentioned Patagonia, and I think that's really neat because in my work, aside from the podcast, I go to a lot of trade shows, and I went to the Patagonia booth, and there's all kinds of eco-friendly things. Matter of fact, they decided not to go to some of the conventions because they're in cities that they don't consider friendly to the environment, and so they stick to their guns. You got to give that to them. But the other thing too is they said, "Hey, you still have a Patagonia jacket?" And I don't have any Patagonia jacket. This, I was just listening to the conversation. And he goes, "Is it still working?" Well, good. You don't need another one. Why would you waste this? And so they really back up things, and it just goes to show it's not always about the profit. It's about making the impact. They're sticking true to their impact statement there. So, wowsy, good. Now I can see how you had so much inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, and continuously, right? So like,
Yeah.
what Elon's built is amazing. And he's been like, probably his book is somewhere be right
Yeah.
behind me there. It's fantastic, you know, like how he sees the holistic like approach, what businesses really can do and how, you know, coming back to communities and can do for society. Like I'm a big believer that businesses should do businesses to do good in the world, right? And it's amazing vehicle to kind of like, yeah, have a mission like that.
I love it. Well, you have made such a great impact, and you've been introduced to so many people. I thought one thing that sounded so awesome that I when I saw this on your title, I want to be this kind of ambassador. But you're a play ambassador for the Toy Association Genius and Play Initiative. Okay, so that's one of the coolest titles I have ever heard.
Yeah, there are plenty of us. It's a cool crew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so the next part of that, what in the heck is that? And how does one become something like that?
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and it's a group through the US Toy Association, and it's yeah, we're like a group, like all people kind of like in the toy industry, right? And I mean, this is why we make stuffed animals, right? Like toys have such a huge influence, right? For
Yes.
kids. Like I mean, just coming back to your kids coming back from school, learning about that, right? It's a product they very familiar with, right? So like if you tell them, well, you can do like wind turbines out of this and that, now they're like, cool. Right? That's awesome, but cool. Right. So but like they can really relate. Everyone has seen a stuffed animal, you know, like it's something really relatable. And then with the stuffed animals, you have an opportunity, you know, to talk and address those kind of issues that are happening there. And it's like, you know, plastic pollution, like your kids like went back and then looked, okay, you know, that's what is ending up in our oceans. It's 8 billion tons every single year of plastic that is ending up in our oceans, right? So and that's why you can do something great with toys, you know, like you have really good message. And the best way those work, so for the ambassadors of play, it's everyone kind of there like has and believes in the greater vision of toys, right? And of play, right? So like it's experts who are writing articles about different aspects, right? How you can really be like we learn better by play, right? If you do something like if you make it a game, if you like, you know, make it fun, if you make it active, that's kind of like how we work, how our brain develops, right? So the experts like writing on those kind of things, right? So and it all comes together of believers that through play we can improve the world, right? So like we all want to start with the kids and give them pretty much the power, right? Through play, change the world or change the world in a playful way.
And that is something that is relevant for all ages, right? There's so many things that we're trying to learn, but if they don't see the application of it, and it's just this regular rote teaching or whatever it might be, it doesn't go anywhere. And especially with kids, very impressionable when it comes to things that you could teach them through play. And man, I'll tell you what, that's again, I'm looking back at why my kids were so excited about it. It's because there is that application of play, and I think there's so many things that we can learn from that. Oh man, there's so many good things. I'm wondering what is next for you? What's next for Shore Buddies or your other endeavors there? Because I could see pretty cool things coming down the pipe still yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always kind of like, you know, you kind of have to move forward to not get left behind. There are a lot of good things in the pipeline that we are doing on the Shore Body side, as well as kind of like in general working with toys really for yeah, for social change, you know, for the positive things. And we are like doing more and more collaborations in the toy industry. I cannot announce anything like publicly yet. We're kind of like finalizing the documents, but there's definitely yeah, a lot of interesting things are happening. You know, it's I feel also a really good time in history right now to kind of like have that change, right? So
Yes.
it's we're getting more and more aware of things, right? Like we all kind of like have a cell phone with
Yes.
24/7, right? So like everyone has a video camera like on their hand, right? Everyone
Yeah.
has access to share the information, whatever they see, whatever they, you know, feel, and then share like literally their feelings and about those kind of things, right? So I feel activism like just got to a complete new level, right? So like it's
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
have an opportunity to address your issues, right? And especially the kids, right? That's something we want to promote with toys as well. It's tell the kids, it's like, you know, like, hey, this is what's going on, right? But
Yeah.
education is two things. It's awareness and
Yeah.
it's empowerment. You know, you have to tell the kids, okay, this is what's going on, and you can fix it. You know, it's kind of like your future, and that's probably why your kids came home like that. It's, you know, like, hey, this is going on. We need to do something. You know, like I don't know what. Tell me what impact on plastic did it have for your household after that?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
What impact on plastic use in your
Oh,
household did it have
so
after
it's
that?
kind of funny. I think it, well, I don't think, I know that it made it so they're, oh, let's make sure that this doesn't go in the garbage here. And I've always been a stickler about, I lived in Oregon for a little bit, so they recycle everything. So I've been
So you knew the game.
oh yeah, yeah. And I really am a staunch proponent of that. And so they understood why I was kind of uptight about it. Put it in the recycle bin, man. And they go, oh,
Yeah.
I get it. And so if anything, it's like, huh, I could see why now we recycle. And going back to what you had said about the why of starting this and the why of doing it and continuing on, helping them understand the why it goes in there, and even more importantly, what it can become. So when they see the Sure Buddies, the Sure Buddies toys and such, and when they see other things, like there's some, they become more aware of things that have been recycled. There's, when we go in the park over here, there are some of the benches that are made out of plastic, and it said this was made out of 250,000 bottles or something, like something insane like that. That, wow, there's 250,000 bottles. So it perks their mind to something that the awareness now is there. And what I love is that you continue that and make it so that it's at the forefront, and instead of something that kind of goes back of mind. And so anyway, that is what they took away from it, at least partially. I'm sure there's a lot more that they talk with their friends about too. So that's just what is I've observed.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's I'm happy to hear that. Thanks for sharing that too. You know, like that's exactly the impact, you know. That's why we love working with kids, you know. It's not only like the next generation. Yes, they grow up like with that already having that understanding, you know, like and then multiplying it in their community, you know, like and people talk about influencers, like who are your biggest influencers? As
Yes.
a parent, it's your kids, man.
Yes.
It's your kids.
It really is. And it's scary how social media savvy they are too. They know so many things to get it out there immediately. There's so many apps and things that are coming out. I'm just blown away and how fast that message can spread. So this is definitely one of those very worthy messages to continue to spread. So I'm wondering too, how can we help you to move this stuff forward? Again, this is something that really got me excited. And so what can we do, or what can all of us do after this program to help out in that method? Obviously in Idaho there's no shores around the ocean right here, but there are lakes, there are different things like that. But what would you suggest?
So there's a lot of things, like that everyone can do, like, and we talked about a few of them already. That's really just being part of the movement,
Yeah.
like being is
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna be like, be part of the solution, not of the pollution kind of idea.
I
It's
like it.
just do the best you can do, like, but be aware of things, be aware of what's going on. And like it's good to take a self-assessment and knowing I have the option, I have all the power, to change that, right? So like there's a lot of things everyone can do. And even if it's not just like getting completely rid of plastic in the first place, I understand not everyone can afford like the complete switch, like glass bottles in supermarkets are more
Yeah.
expensive than plastic or cans, right? So
Right.
but I you can be part of the solution. It starts with, like, recycle your things, do your things, like separate them,
Yeah.
do all of those kind of things, and ask it from your, like, in your community, right? Ask your city to change it. Ask your cities, like, if those are not there, then it can be done, like it's done in other cities, it's done in other countries. If you all want us as shore buddies, kind of like help out a little bit, and come to your cities and come to your schools, like if you have any ideas there, let us know. Yeah, we do school talks as your
Yeah.
kids learned about it, Marie. So like it's someone's interested in kind of like coordinating with that, we always love and happy to do that. It might not necessarily be myself that I have time for that, but we have a full education team that's always kind of like, doing book readings, Zoom. So we kind of like working on different grade levels.
Yeah.
So we can always do that, like that's, I don't know if there's a good use of word to say that something good that came out of COVID, but I feel like there's actually a lot of things, right? And I
Yeah.
think it did get a lot of good things, especially out of people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But what it also did, it made kind of like what we're doing here right now, right? The digital communication more acceptable. It really like
Yes.
forwarded that, right? And with Shore Buddies, like we have bootstrapped the entire company, and we started out like that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of like working remotely. Like we never had an office, and it's a very virtual, lean organization. And it's when everyone kind of like started working like a home office, like we all looked at each other, it's like, okay, cool. We've been doing that for a couple of years already, it was kind of a very, very interesting thing to learn. But now it's like, definitely at that level where it's more interactive. I think we all love the hybrid way more, right? Like rather than
Yes.
being forced to do that, it's more
Yes.
like you can have more, like you can do more things, right?
Yeah.
Like in a day, like traveling takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, and it just like expands your network in a very new and different way, and you mentioned the kids earlier with social media, messages spread fast, so it's
Yeah.
really you can reach a lot of people in a short time.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited to get this one out there because I want to give this back to the school as well. Right? It just there's so many really neat things that even regardless of the age that you can do to help in that environment. So my gosh, I gotta thank you for making the time to discuss not only short buddies but also the broader movement as far as helping the environment. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah, Maurice, thank you so much for having me. It was a great pleasure. Yeah, and everyone, well, let's give your audience a discount. Like, let's put in there, put in Shore Buddies 15,
You
and
got it. Oh,
one word, and we put like a little discount for all you guys out there. So let's make sure we have that going. And yeah, support where you can. Please reach out to me if anyone out there is interested for us to come to your school. We'd love to hear from you, and help us spread the message. And yeah, Maurice, thanks again for having me.